Hello, welcome back, guys. Got another good friend of mine here today, Mr. Jamie Reid. Jamie, if you don't mind introducing yourself and giving a bit of a lowdown of where you coach, where you're from, we can get cracking.
All right, Dino. My name is Jamie Reid. I'm assistant coach on the men's side at Kenyatta College in the Bay Area, just outside Silicon Valley. I'm originally from Luton, in England, just outside London, around 10 miles away.
Okay, perfect. So close to me, obviously. I'm from Watford, so it's close to home there a little bit.
Yeah.
So look, before we start, I know you probably get the question all over and over again. It's not Canada College, right? Just to
Nah,
clarify.
nah.
What's
Kenyatta.
Kenyatta?
Yeah, Kenyatta. Yeah.
Okay, and just outside of where in California?
Just outside San Francisco, around
Okay.
20 miles from San Francisco and 20 miles from San Jose.
Perfect, great. So what we'll crack on with here is we'll get into a little bit to learn a little bit more about you, and how you ended up coaching, how you ended up in America from Luton, and kind of go from there. So obviously, being brought up in Luton, I'm assuming you played soccer or football from a young age, like most of the English boys. How did your development kind of go from playing in Luton to coming over to the US?
Yeah, I mean, I just started real local, really, just playing like locally from around age 7, 8, just on a few Sunday league teams. Pretty good ones. I was on a team where a lot of boys moved to pro clubs, and I don't know, I didn't really take it serious. At that time I was just hanging out with mates, wanted to just play football, win games, and then it got to around, I'd say, like 16, 15, doing really well, making like national cup final with my high school teams, and then sort of going in and out of the Luton town like development sort of system. Training with a couple of the lads and a couple of different teams, and just sort of bouncing around while still playing with my friends locally. And then got to about my last year in high school, then went on a few trials at Stevenage Borough, back to Luton, still playing for the district and the county, against various other teams, which is a good level. And then when I left high school, I joined the Oakland's College like BTEC program in St Albans, under Steve Castle, which is probably my favorite manager of all time. I had a real good experience there, playing with some good lads. Played in the FA Youth Cup, made the second round twice. It would be, if I remember correctly, Colchester or Wickham. So played at quite a good standard. Played sort of semi-pro like Barton Rovers. Bounced around sort of like non-league level. And then I didn't really plan to come out to the US. I was just playing locally until I went to a sort of a trial there, a recruitment agency, and then it all sort of snowballed from there.
Yeah. So which company did you end up going through to come out here?
I went through United Sports USA.
Okay, so they're probably one of the bigger ones at the moment, I would say.
Yeah.
There's obviously so many in England right now. It's kind of crazy to kind of keep up with all of them. But how was your experience? Going through the company, and where did you end up going and all of that kind of stuff? So you went to the trial event, obviously played well, made a highlight tape and stuff, and that got sent out to coaches. Is that kind of how it worked for you to end up where you ended up?
Yeah, it's actually a bit of a different sort of journey I had. I mean, I was planning to come out a year actually before I did. I went to a trial game, played in a couple of showcases. I was actually meant to go to New York. I went through the visa process, and the embassy got shut down that year. I think it was the Olympics year when we had the Olympics in London. So I didn't get the visa in time, so I decided to hold off, wait one more year. So just stayed local, played a little bit more, continued showing up to the showcase games, and then I ended up, I had a buddy that was at Feather River College in California, and to be honest, I didn't do a lot of research. I just heard California, and I was just.
Yeah, that usually is the selling point for most of the English boys. As soon as they hear California or Florida, that's usually where they're like, yep, I'm good, we're good to go. So doesn't surprise me one bit that that's kind of your thought process when you're going through it. So you ended up at Feather River. You did, was it 2 years you did there?
Yeah, 2 years.
Under Don, I'm guessing. Don was your coach.
Yep.
How was your experience at Feather River compared to playing back home in England?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I had probably the best time out of my whole 4 years. It was quality set of lads and coaches. The first year was hard for me. Just I've never lived up away from home or done any like washing, like laundry, cooking. So all that was like a big adjustment. I was lucky that I had a great set of lads. So I sort of, hung around in the first year. I'd probably say not, I was still a bit, not sure if I was going to come back after the first semester, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
When I went back home, but I quickly realised like that would be just the most stupid decision ever. So I come back, just got on with it really, cracked on, got my head down, and then my sophomore year was brilliant. I mean, we had a great year, made playoffs, met more friends, like some of my best friends now to this day. Got a degree and then got a scholarship. So sort of boxes were ticked.
So for people that don't know, Feather River is a junior college in California. So from Feather River, was it easy for you to kind of progress and move on to the 4-year level? Was it? I know Don is very heavy in recruiting now, and he's obviously working with SI USA as well, so he's got a lot of connections. Do you think going through the JUCO route helped you get more offers maybe from the 4-year schools?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, just from being a coach now, at the time I didn't really realize, like a lot of English lads, like you hear like junior college and Division 2, 3, NAIA Division 1, you just automatically think like it's a step down. But to be honest, like I probably played better lads in junior college than I did at the 4-year. Like, as you know, I mean, we have a lot of Latinos in California, so they like to play instead of just pump it sort of direct. I mean, I definitely think that helped, and I mean, Don's like an expert at that. He's a really good recruiter. So that sort of that definitely helped me in terms of academics too. I wasn't the best student coming out of high school, and I was sort of I just thought if you could play, you could sort of just move yourself through the levels. But I quickly realised that your grades were probably more important than the football piece in some aspects.
Yeah. So where did you end up after Feather River?
I moved. I transferred to a school in Indianapolis, Goshen College, for 1 year. I only completed 1 year there, and then transferred out of there.
Okay, and you end up graduating from, was it Chico State?
Yeah, Cal State. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So you said your experience in JUCO, you probably say was more, how's the word, beneficial for you than your 4-year school. Do you think there was any kind of reason for that, or do you think it was just the fact you had a really good group of guys, good coaching staff in a good environment, and that's kind of made it what it was?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think if a lot of people don't know where Feather River is, they just hear California, but it's deep in the mountains, in a small town of like I say 2,000 people. Subway, Safeway, that's about it. Not a lot to do. And I mean, we had, I was lucky. We had like around 30 internationals. So we were all in the same boat. So yeah, I would just say like the group of the set of lads I was with was awesome. Like we had a great time on the field, in the classroom, and off it. So yeah, it's great.
Okay. So this year was your first year coaching in college?
Yeah.
So technically, I guess your first year. So
yeah.
How did you find the adjustment from being a college athlete to being a college coach? Was it a pretty smooth transition for you? And how did the first year go for you?
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty smooth, just because I mean, I'm not too old than the guys, so it was pretty easy to establish a good sort of like medium bond with the lads, like to enough where they respect me, and 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 like, you know, where the line is, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty easy. I know a lot of young coaches have you know, a little bit of difficulty with that, but I didn't struggle with that at all. You know, I just applied what I sort of learned as an athlete and took it to the coaching world.
Is there anything specific you would say, you know, in your first year that you think maybe you learned that you weren't expecting to learn?
Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I learned a lot. I mean, you know, I actually played in the conference sort of that I'm coaching in, so I'm
Yeah.
quite familiar with it. But it uh, it's crazy how it's changed over like a small set of years. You know, just from like, you know, just the games got a lot more quicker, or it seems so, than I
Yeah.
played. And then another thing, probably just man management. You know,
Mhm.
I didn't realize, obviously, like as an assistant, you know, I wasn't too sure, like, you know, where the line is on with certain guys. And it's crazy how 1 to 25, like each guy has to be, you know, dealt with differently. You know, there's some guys, you know, that need a shoulder, a hand around them, you know, and then there's some guys that, you know, are just get on with it. So yeah, that would be the most difficult thing, I'd say.
Yeah, I think man management, especially with guys, you're dealing with guys, you know, 18 to 20,
Mm.
25 maybe. I think at that age, especially, man management is massive. Um, that's something that I probably would say I undervalued when I was a player, and I was probably one of them kids that if I was to coach myself now, I'd be like, oh, this kid again. Do you know what I mean? But like, there is different ways that you deal with different people. I think you're spot on with that. And I think it took me a little while to learn that. You know, when I first started coaching, the first 6 months I did maybe at my JUCO, I would say I treated everyone the exact same, and
Yeah,
I thought that's the way. You know, treat everyone the same, and like no one can complain, kind of thing. But I quickly learned that you can't do that. You know, there's some people if you shout at them, they don't react well to it. There's other people that you have to shout at them for them to react. And I think that's a key thing for a lot of people that are trying to be coaches and or are coaches. That for me is one of the things that I've worked on a lot since I've been coaching is learning how to deal with different personalities and different players, because it can make a massive impact on your season. You know, one player getting hot or getting on form at the right time because you're managing them correctly can completely change your season. So I think you've done well there with that point. That's something that we haven't actually spoke about. Um, was there any times that it was difficult? Maybe there's a player that, you know, needed that extra arm around them at times, and you know sometimes it does feel like a bit of a pain for coaches, but it's part of your job at the end of the day. So did you find that there was moments like that for you in the season?
yeah. There was definitely a few. I mean, you know, I'm not going to name him, but one of
Yeah,
our players, you know, you know, he was producing the goods, but you know, like his discipline wasn't there. You know, you know, sometimes he would show up a little bit late, and you know, just because he's like scoring goals, he just thought he could get away with it. So you know, it was a little bit difficult because obviously on the field he was producing the goods. You know, so like it was a little, it was a hard line to sort of find, to be like, you know, what is acceptable, what isn't. I mean, the only thing that helped me too, I actually started in the spring.
yeah,
So um, the spring that really helped me because I didn't bring any of the guys in that spring. So that sort of like, you know, I still finding my feet sort of like real new. You know, and some of the guys I still was trying to earn their trust because that I was, you know, a brand new foreigner to them. Like that, you know, they didn't really know anything about me. But coming into my first year, like full year, the full season, I recruited all the guys. So they all knew me from high school, or you know, I coached them previously at clubs. So you know, I think that real helped. You know, just communicating that and like building relationships. You know,
yeah.
I
How,
thought
how important do you think, you know, the relationship between the coaches and the players is? I know like it
mm,
is sometimes different for a head coach than it is for an assistant coach.
yeah.
Um, but how important do you think it is to build, you know, relationships with them players, and how do you think that affects your season?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. I think like it's one of the most underrated skill. Building and maintaining quality relationships, because I would probably say that I have a better relationship with 90% of the team than their head coach does. Just because I'm the sort of guy that may go into you know uncomfortable situations rather than the head coach, and sort of try and figure out what's wrong, and sort of have a discussion to sort of like calm it down, or like in different scenarios. But I think he's so underrated, and once you have that guy's trust, I think deeper and deeper you get into the season, that it helps, that they can pull out a moment of genius. I feel, just with that little bit of trust of why you're pulling someone off, for example.
Yeah.
They might not agree with it early in the season, but if you build that relationship and show him, the reasons why you're doing it, and and like the proof of evidence that it's working, I feel like you can get that extra 10% out of the team, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I wanted to kind of touch on that we haven't really spoke about at all with the people I've had on recently is the tactical kind of aspect of the game. So like
Yeah.
in England, in Spain, in Italy, in America, wherever you go, there's always different kind of tactical aspects to the game. From your experience, playing in California and coaching now, what would you say is the biggest difference tactically in the US compared to a lot of the other countries that a lot of these boys are coming over from?
I would just say athleticism. Like, in California, a lot of the teams play wing backs, and the wing backs, can go up and down for the full 90 minutes, like at an unbelievable pace. I would just say, I mean, a lot of the tactics and the formations are really, really flexible and athletic. A lot of guys move around in different roles and different positions, where at home, you probably know yourself, a lot of guys just play one position, which,
Mm-hmm.
over here, which is, you sort of hear that and just think, oh, like
Yeah,
stiff, you know what I mean? Like here, I've never heard of a sort of local kid or American kid that just say, oh, I just play here. Like I
yeah,
play forward, it's always, I play 7, 11 or 9 or 10.
yeah,
So I would just say the pure, the flexibility of what they're learning, and how they can apply it is just different to being back at home.
yeah. Do you think that comes from, obviously the culture here in America is completely different. Do you think that comes from them playing like multiple sports as kids and they just kind of get taught to try different things, whereas when I was growing up, I played as a 9 predominantly, and that was it. You play there, you score goals, that's your job done.
Yeah,
Whereas here, it's like, I don't want to say you're winning a game, you put your best player back at centre back to try and hold a lead, but that's kind of what happens sometimes. So I think they've definitely got a little bit more versatility than what we're used to, especially in England. But maybe that does come from them playing multiple different sports as young kids and having that different kind of upbringing than maybe we've had.
yeah, I totally agree. The first time I actually experienced it was in high school. And I saw a kid that was, a big boy, athletic, quick, and he played club for, he played the centre back for his club, but he was saying that he plays up front for the high school, and I've never seen, like, you couldn't tell a difference. Where at
Yeah,
home, if you see a centre half, you just know straight away he's a centre half. Like, but
yeah,
here, yeah, I totally agree. I think playing a lot of these kids play 4 or 5 sports, like, at the same time. So yeah, I think that's definitely a key component.
perfect. So let's kind of jump in a little bit more back into your coaching now. So you've done 1 year obviously in your college there. I'm assuming you're going back for your next year in August. Fingers crossed everything goes as planned. Where do you see yourself taking this? Is it a career that you've always thought that you'd like to be in, or did it kind of come as a surprise to yourself that you ended up coaching, or did you kind of know when you were playing that was something you'd want to do?
Yeah, to be honest, Dino, like, no. Like when I was a player, maybe like yourself, I was so far from coaching. I was like the kid that you probably wouldn't want to coach. I just never fancied it. If I'm being honest, it never. I I never really took it any way serious at all until um I started volunteering, like, at my community college for like little kids, just like, helping out. And, I actually enjoyed it. And then, I studied business, finance, and I ideally wanted to work in the city. But, as I got a little bit older, I thought, oh, it's not that bad, and I just enjoyed, passing on what I learned to other kids, and especially on the JUCO route. I went that route, so it holds a little bit closer to me, if that makes sense. So I sort of know what it takes to get out of there, and I just think that helps a little bit, having that bond of being the same kid that went through that journey like 8-9 years ago. I just think that helps massively.
Geez, it's been 9 years, yeah.
Or around about 8 yeah, around. I can't remember, Dino. It's that long.
So quick. I still remember when we first started talking, when you were at Feather River, and it does go really quick. So now I'm guessing, is this kind of something that you're sticking with now? Coaching, you've been doing it for a year. Do you see yourself kind of taking this path now as your career in the long term? Or do you see yourself maybe going back into the finance stuff? Or is it now you've kind of experienced that year coaching it, and that's it, it's stuck, that's what you want to do now?
Yeah, to be honest, do you know, when I finished playing, I sort of lost my love for the game a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. And then I sort of just thought I'd volunteer for that spring semester, and I don't know, like it just, when you just pick something up naturally, I don't know, I just loved it. I just thought, there were so many, like, when, especially being from England, you just think you know all about the game, which is so far wrong. I was just learning something every single day, even the smallest thing. So I took the spring and just went with it, sort of thing. And yeah, I totally want to do it full time. And then I went into the full season, and we finished our best ever. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that.
I think from looking at it from the perspective of a lot of boys now, is it's not ever going to be playing. You're never going to get that same feeling, which is fine. And everyone gets older. We all grow up, and you can't play forever, unfortunately. But I would say coaching as a job is probably the next best thing, because you're still around the boys, you're still involved, you're still kind of influencing stuff as much as you can. And I was the same way. I didn't really think I wanted to do it, but then once I started doing it, I was like, oh, I don't think I could get another job now. I don't think I can do anything else, because not you get addicted to it, but you're back in kind of that zone that you were in as a player, and it kind of takes over your life a little bit, coaching, I think. And I'm sure a lot of coaches can attest to it. You get so into it that you don't even really think about doing anything else.
Yeah, I can agree. Like, when I was a player, you thought like you had the, full end of the stick, but when you're coaching, like you say, it just never stops. Like, after a game or after a session is the next session or the next game, or video footage, recruiting, like it's just endless. And, it got to a point where, I was sort of, I still am, but like, I was just 24/7. Like, I couldn't stop, thinking about what's next, how can we improve? Like, yeah, it's totally addicting. I agree with you there.
Okay, so obviously for you being a first year coach, young coach, you still got a lot of time ahead of you in the game, coaching. Ideally for you, if you were to look 5-10 years down the line, what's the plan coaching wise for Jamie? Like, what do you see yourself doing?
I just probably, hopefully, a head coach at I just want to go to established program, and just keep building, keep learning, be around good people, maintain quality relationships, and just keep learning. That's the cool thing I'd say about football. Like, I just think there's something new to pick up every single day. The game's always changing, the methods are changing, the recruiting's changing. So like, it's nothing really stays still, which, that's what keeps me addicted to it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So I always ask this question to everyone. Like, I ask what kind of piece of advice you would give to, a young coach just thinking of doing it. And I think you're a good one to ask, being, you know, a young coach yourself. It's just kind of getting into it. And from your experience in your first year, is there anything specific that you would say to anyone that's kind of thinking about getting into coaching, that is contemplating, you know, do I want to be a college coach or club coach or whatever? Is there any one piece of advice that you would say is very important that they should know?
Yeah, I would just say get minutes on the grass. Like, just get out there. Like, you know, nothing nothing's going to be perfect. You know, I think a lot of guys, you know, get scared where they run a session and, you know, it's not going to plan, and it sort of puts them off, you know, because the session doesn't flow completely. I would just say that's the main thing. I would just say you have to go out on the pitch and just put hours in, you know, meet new people, build and maintain quality relationships, watch new sessions like we discussed. You know, I think that's key. You know, always there's from every session I feel, you know, there's a good or bad, no matter what, you know, if you like it or if you don't like it. So, you know, I just think being a sponge is super important, you know, never being, you know, too good or too big time just to be know it all sort of thing, you know. But yeah, just minutes on the grass, you know, volunteer. Because I know a lot of young coaches, you know, the money's an issue. I totally get that, but while you're young and don't have so many ties, for example, like family or etc., just get out there on the grass, you know, volunteer, all age groups too. I think that's key, you know, because like, you know, coaching a college team to a club team is completely different. Just like stuff like body language, communication, different words, being simple, like, you know, short and sharp, like all different techniques. You know, I feel that's just key to especially if you want to be a college coach. You know, I think having all the different skill sets is a great advantage to have.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, I started off coaching in Wyoming with the college team, but I would also coach a lot of kids on the side, just kind of as a little side gig.
Mm.
And you definitely learn a lot of different stuff from each side, if that makes sense. So like, I learned so much stuff from the little kids that I would never have learned from coaching the college guys.
Yeah,
And it does give you a different perspective, and I think it does enhance you as a coach if you're able to do both. I would go as far as saying perhaps coaching the kids might even be more difficult than coaching
100%.
college boys, because you have to break everything down and you have to simplify stuff, and um, they don't just know, you know. Whereas when you get to the college level, if you've recruited right and you've recruited the right people that are going to help you to be successful, more than likely they know a good portion of what you're wanting them to do. You might have to tweak a few things here and there, and tell them, hey, I think you should do it this way to kind of enhance their game. But they've already kind of sharpened the iron a little bit themselves at that point. Whereas when you're coaching the little kids, it's complete basics back to the start. And you're the one that's really going to influence them into how they're going to progress into a player. So I think coaching all age groups is definitely a good point there. And the other one you said is kind of getting out there, which brings back into the point that I talk with everyone about every time we talk, is just networking and talking to as many different coaches as you can, talking to as many different agencies as you can, talking to as many different players. And I think that's been probably the most important thing in my career so far, is just the network of people I've been able to connect with. And I think that's a massive, massive thing for any young coach that's trying to make their way in the game, is making that network.
Yeah, I agree. It's key. I mean, even I've only been doing it for a year, but you know, I've learned so much just by networking. You know, I'm lucky that the area I'm in, you know, we're surrounded by, you know, Stanford. This is 5 minutes away. San Jose State, which is like 15, and then you go the other way, and it's University of San Francisco, University of Pacific. So, you know, there's a lot of great programs on my doorstep. So, you know, and a couple of great clubs too. You know, obviously the Earthquakes. You got the Force. You know, I help out at the Breakers right now, which is a great experience. You know, that was my real sort of, you know, at like a good level at club, at youth. I learned, you know, the most just by shadowing, you know, an experienced ex MLS pro. You know, just how, you know, by stuff like intensity, just, you know, different sorts of methodology, like how sessions should be ran through and stuff like that. It was crazy how much depth, you know, it goes from that level and then all the way to the college.
Yeah, I think the key there is kind of taking in that you can never stop learning, because you know a lot of people would see different coaches' success and be like, oh, he's made it, you know, he's where you want to be. But I'm sure majority of them coaches don't feel like that. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
um, you know, I'm going this next summer to shadow a few people that I'm interested in learning from, and I think doing stuff like that is only going to enhance you as a coach. And I think no matter where you get to, you know, you could be the head coach at FC Dallas, and I actually know Lucci personally, and I can attest that he's still learning, you know, and he's the head coach of one of the top MLS teams in the country, and he still wants to go out, learn from different people. So if like people like him are doing that, I don't see any reason why every other coach in the country shouldn't be doing the same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, again, networking, getting out there and learning as much as possible, and get yourself on the field was the main one that you came up with. Because like in anything in life, the more you practice and the more you get, I think getting comfortable is the main one.
Yeah,
Uh,
just gaining confidence too, you know, like especially like, you know, being a young coach, you know, coaching especially college kids who in age group are quite sort of, you know, similar. I know a lot of young lads that, you know, lose confidence by just trying to build that bridge between, you know, I've got respect, and, you know, when it's time to work, it's work, and when it's time to joke, it's joke, you know. I know so many people that struggle so bad at finding the middle point, you know. um,
yeah,
and I just think that comes from, you know, getting out there, being confident in what you know, and you know what you're trying to put on. You know, you have to know what you're trying to put on too is key, you know. And I just think being simple too, I think that's a key aspect too. I see a lot of people trying to do, you know, fancy or in-depth sessions, like, you know, which is great, you know, if you know what is detailing behind that, but a lot of people don't, you know. So I think, you know, if you're young and, you know, you're just getting into it, just build yourself up just by, you know, putting some good, not special sessions, just basic sessions, but knowing the principle behind everything and why you're doing it, you know.
yeah, I think that's spot on. I think simple is never wrong. You know, I think some people get away from that, and you know, people will be watching Pep Guardiola and Klopp, and rightly so. You know, they're very good coaches, but a lot of coaches have to also realize that they're not Pep Guardiola and they're not Klopp, and you have to kind of make your own ideas. And sometimes keeping it simple is the best option. I think, you know, you don't always have to overcomplicate stuff. It just depends on yourself, on your team, what you're trying to do. But not everything has to be the way that, you know, the top guys do it. So I think that's spot on as well. We've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to kind of go through with you. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to give advice on, like maybe for a young player that's trying to get recruited in college. Is there anything that sticks out for you, as like a player's side, that if they're trying to get recruited by Jamie Reid, what's kind of the best way to go about it?
um i would I would just say, you know, just like attitude's big for me. You know, work rate, you know, because I know a lot of people, you know, that will just take, you know, a good solid guy that, you know, turns up to everything, replies to everything, just does, you know, just takes instructions, just be coachable. That's just the main thing, you know. I know so many good players that are not coachable, and they just, you know, fall through the ranks even at JUCO level, you know, which is a shame. And I think that's a key aspect of making it out of JUCO, is just being coachable, because, you know, you come in with a lot of, especially internationals, a lot of egos, you know, you know, and it takes a little bit of time to adjust and sort of, you know, get to learn the level, because the level is a good level, as you know, Dean. Like, you know, JUCO's a great level, and, you know, a lot of guys just knock it. So I would just say be coachable.
Perfect. All right. Well, that will kind of wrap up our chat here. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully everything goes ahead for August, and you guys get to have a season down there in California, and I'll be keeping an eye on a few of the boys for sure. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it coming on. If anyone's got any questions as well, they can always reach out to Jamie personally. And I know him very well. He's a good lad and he wouldn't mind having a chat. So thanks again, Jamie, and appreciate everyone that's watched, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right, Dino, take care.